Welcome to the world today. I'm Waqas Majeed. Today we have two important topics to discuss. The first one is a statement by the Prime Minister where he said that the economy has the potential to grow at 9%. He was addressing a seminar which was organized by the Bahariya University, and while he was addressing that symposium on maritime affairs, he said that the economy has the potential to grow at 9%, but that is if we all put in the required hard work. We'll be talking about that in detail, and our second topic is concerning the Iran nuclear deal. It is expected that President Trump will be announcing his decision on the deal on Tuesday at 2 p.m. That remains to be seen what it is, but most people feel that America would be walking out of the deal. Tehran has also made its feelings felt on the matter. We'll talk about that in detail as well. Let's begin our conversation. I'd like to introduce our guests in the studio at the moment. Joining me is Touseef Zaman Saab. He's with the Islamabad Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much, Touseef Saab, for being here. Touseef Saab, first of all, this statement by the Prime Minister that we can achieve a growth rate of 9% if we put in the hard work. What do you make of the statement, sir?
All right. I think that the first portion of the statement is a bit conservative. We have the potential of in double-digit growth. I have no doubt about it. But the second bit of the statement,
that's the crucial one.
That's the hard work. I would say it's the structural changes. That is where the magic is. We have seen he has been an aviator himself. He has been running a national flag carrier. And then when he was unsuccessful, he did his own venture, and which was pretty successful. So this is all the structural corridor. I would be reluctant to say that he was not hard worker at PIA, and he was a hard worker at AirBlue. So this is not the case. But there was a structural difference between the two airlines.
And when you talk about structural changes, you mean structural changes in the policy, or do you mean the structural changes in the way business is done? What exactly are
Both.
you? What do you mean?
Like it starts from FBR, where it's a mindless exercises the way they are collecting the revenues. Our whole service sector, let it be lawyers, doctors, mechanics, nurses, automobile workers, or the retail shops, nobody is in the tax net. There's only few 100,000 people who are filing the tax papers. And
but don't you think, sir, that before you can file your taxes, it is important to be literate? I mean, if you when you mention,
as a matter of fact, you cannot deny the folk wisdom.
Right.
So education is something different. But that is what is right and what is wrong. Many of the businessmen, if you talk about the Pakistani community or the Pakistani top businessmen, all the world top businessmen, they are thrown out of college anyways.
Yes, but they have basic literacy.
Of course.
Now, in Pakistan, basic literacy is a big issue. So a lot of people are not even aware of what taxation really is.
Yes, again, it goes back to the FBR. Even their own officers, they cannot fill the form, what they have created for themselves.
You see, now that is a real big issue.
So probably we should have another subject introduced, which is, tax education and how to fill your forms.
All right, let's also talk about the Belt and Road Initiative that China has started, and CPEC is an important part of it. It also has a lot of scope within the IOR, which is the Indian Ocean region. So in your opinion, what are the finer points of the geoeconomics that exists in the IOR at the moment, and how can we further protect it and consolidate it?
CPEC is part of OBOR, One Belt, One Road. There are 6 corridors coming out of OBOR. CPEC is one of them. It definitely carries Indian Ocean region. It definitely carries a corridor to India, Burma, and Bangladesh, which is bigger than the CPEC. There's a Central Asian Silk Corridor, which is already there, and it's now going in full swing. It has been a great success example that not only from the region, but outside the region, people are coming and investing over there. As a matter of fact, the OBOR vision was that they had already a huge trade relation with the US. So minus US, they have included everyone and anybody into the activity. So that was the Chinese vision, and they crafted it very well to to get the maximum dividends out of it. It comes back to us that what is our national agenda on the subject, what is our strategic location and our strategic benefits. Only we are responsible to define them, and we are responsible to inculcate and cultivate that
and to
businesses
achieve
out of it,
and to achieve those
achieve
goals.
those things.
Well, a very interesting point that the Prime Minister also raised was the exploitation of the potential that Pakistan has in this vital trade corridor. Unfortunately, we don't see ourselves being used to our full potential. What do you ascribe the reasons to that?
Again, because it was a foreign agenda. They had all the right to build that, but unfortunately we could not come up till now what is our national interest on the subject, how to get the best dividends out of it. Only this year our Ministry of Commerce put on hold on the incentives we were continuously giving to the other party, and we stopped and we said, okay, no more FTA this time. Now this to reflect on what is our basic industry requirements, how to protect our local remaining industry, whatever it is. We can sign we can defer the FTA some for another time, but we need to focus what we have to offer. We have to remember there are three fundamentals of Pakistani economy, that is agriculture, mining and human resource. We have the youngest human resource, we have a huge mining potential, and we have a huge agriculture sector. Fortunately, we have worked something for the agriculture sector. So that's why we have some agriculture universities with us. We have graduates who are coming into many sectors of agriculture, and that is where our food security is safe, and we are good to move on whatever we have. But for mining, we don't have a single university in Pakistan, and each one of a mine is worthy enough to build tens of CPAC corridors out of what we have to offer. And the third one, the CPAC did not happen, the OBOR did not happen just for the sake of transaction. It is the engagement of the youth of Chinese upcoming it's a career opportunity for Chinese youth for next 50 years. It's a career choice. What we need to look at, once we are saying that Pakistan is a young nation with 21 years of average education, we need to look, corridor is going from one point to another. It is just a corridor, it is not the destination.
Right.
So what is the destination in terms of CPAC, that is Africa.
Please hold that thought. We'll come back to that topic because we've just been joined on the line by Dr. Usman Mustafa from PIDE. Thank you very much, Dr. Usman. Sir, when the Prime Minister says that Pakistan has the potential to grow at 9% provided that we put in the hard work vis-a-vis the CPEC, what do you make of that statement, sir?
I think we have a very good foundation with this CPEC. Let me just inform you that by providing this electricity and we don't have any load shedding, we can grow 2% the GDP. So due to lack of electricity, we are missing 2% GDP. Let's assume with the CPEC and we have other energy projects, because these are the ugly harvest projects and these are the foundation for any economic growth. So if you have a foundation, like you have a roads, communication, there is also communication. We have from Kashgar to Gilwada, we have also the line, telephone line or the other lines. So all these communication ICT will help in boosting the growth rate. There is no doubt that 1960 during Pakistan was the growth rate and was 6% continuously, and which is the highest among these Asian countries. And Pakistan's total export is much higher than Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, and Malaysia. Why not? If we can have the youth, we have the potential. It's the only need of direction. It's the only need of governance. It's the only need of leadership. And of course, we need political stability as well as the conflict. We don't have, if you have a conflict and you don't have a political stability, we cannot achieve those things. But if you have, we have a lot of potential, we have a lot of resources. Let me just inform you that the CPEC road is going in those areas. In Pakistan, 25% land is not even surveyed. So most of those areas, most of the districts which CPEC roads are covering are non-developed, are the poorest one. So if we are going in those areas which was not discovered earlier, if we harness all those natural resources, we harness our manpower, why not we can achieve this 9% growth rate? It's require really the consistent political stability, resolution of conflict, and of course we have to harness our water resources also.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Usman Mustafa, for talking to PTV World and sharing your views. Coming back to the studio, we've also been joined by Abdul Jaleel Saab. Thank you, sir, for being here. Jaleel Saab, no problem, sir. Of course. Of course. So we're talking about this statement by the Prime Minister in which he has said that 9% growth is possible if Pakistan, or Pakistanis rather, put in the effort and the work that is required to make the CPEC project a success. So in your opinion right now, where do you think we are lacking? Because we are seeing the development of infrastructure in the form of 6-lane highways and road networks being laid across the country. But in order to utilize those infrastructure development that is taking place, how do you suppose that the human resource can be used or can be capitalized in terms of getting the kind of dividends that Pakistani economy needs?
Actually, that is the question. As far as resources concerned, as Dr. Usman Saab was just telling you, there is no, depth of the resources in the country. Social infrastructure, to some extent is developed. Physical infrastructure over the last 2 decades, it has been developed sufficiently. Energy crisis is there, but gradually it is being overcome. Fourthly, resource availability in natural resource, mineral resources is available in abundance. Water resources available in abundance.
Are they, sir? We have serious issues with water right now.
So where lies the problem? The problem lies, number one, governance structure. Number two, the people of Pakistan. This is what I can say. There is some kind of a disconnect between the representative institutions, their way of doing things, their way of the governance, and the responses of the people. There is no, I see the trust deficit as well. And in order to develop, to accomplish any project, that the trust is very important and the culture of team building is required. Here it comes the micromanagement principle of team building. And then they depend a lot upon the human resource management. Now we will have to see that how far we have gone in human resource development in this country, consciously. How many, our excellence, our center of excellence, how much they have contributed, and how much they are involved in the development of CPECs.
Yeah, we'll come to that later, sir. Touseef, maritime sector has a very important and crucial role to play. And as you were earlier speaking about Africa being a destination for CPEC and business, and also a destination for Pakistani entrepreneurs to develop their businesses. Taking that further, sir, what would you like to say about it?
All right. In my childhood, my first toy was made in Hong Kong. But if you go to Hong Kong today, there's not a single manufacturing unit in Hong Kong, right? Because the cost of production has gone up, the human resources have gone expensive, land has gone expensive. Everything was shifted to China. In China now they have created so much wealth that the land, labor and everything has gone expensive. So they are graduating their industries to these 6 corridors in a time of say 10 years time. I've been a frequent visitor to Africa. Now the investment, the global investments are going to Africa for the development of industries. So in 10 years time from now, the world global manufacturing center would be Africa, because the human resource and land would be the cheapest in the Central Africa and all over Africa. That is where the opportunity lies for Pakistan. If China has this grand vision to go and explore and invest in China, in Africa, our youth, we are truly competitive, whatever is happening in Africa. Our talent, in telco sector, we have abundance of human resource. Africa requires that human resource.
IT?
IT is, here we go, and the difference is our human resources as competitive as 60%, 50% of, in terms of pricing. We are very competitive, and they are welcoming towards us. They are countries on the based of religion, based of, the competitiveness and the pricing. We have the market. This is high time that our universities should engage the youth to look at Africa. There's a Prime Minister's initiative also, Look Africa policy. We have been engaging the African ambassadors to this concept, but somehow we are shy to go to Africa. I don't know why. We would love to go to Europe for GSP Plus, which is a tiniest thing. There's a 450 million population living only in Western Africa, which is a huge market for Pakistani manufacturing made in Gujarat, Gujranwala, Wazirabad. They are a perfect ideal market for that. So it's just that our human resource must be told that this is, Chinese state, that is what you call the state intervention. They asked the local people, Chinese people, to get out of their comfort zone. They gave some incentives to them and pushed them and gave the policies, to go and explore the foreign alien markets. That is where if you go to any part of the world, I've been to Union of Comoros, a small tiny island in the middle of nowhere in Africa, and I found Chinese investors working there.
Was there a Chinatown there as well?
They are making one.
Oh, well, there we go.
Yeah.
Chinatown is all over the world.
So it's, it's just that we have a strong culture, a strong youth. It's high time that we should push our youth, go and explore and win the market.
All right, Jaleel Saab, when we're talking about expanding Pakistan's economy especially,
Overseas,
and
yes.
in terms of the CPEC, I was talking to Touseef Saab earlier as well about this, the maritime aspect, which is in the Indian Ocean, is a very important aspect of CPEC, and the protection of the ships that are carrying goods is also a very important aspect of maintaining a peaceful environment within the Indian Ocean region. How do you think that is going to be achieved, and what kind of a role can Pakistan play in terms of securing CPEC projects?
Actually, as we have just talked about, the maritime aspect of the international trades, they are very important. As far as the security of the maritime, the sea lanes is concerned, what I mean to say, the international trade route by sea lanes, that is guaranteed there. As far as potential of Pakistan Navy is concerned, it is unquestionable, right? That is not a problem. Then secondly, there are international maritime agencies who have taken special care of providing protection to the international sea routes as well. And Pakistan has played a very important role against the anti-piracy operation as well. And Pakistan Navy role has been acknowledged. As far as, we have got a potential to protect our, interest on high seas. That is not there. Now the question is second, that how far our commercial sector our business sector is ready to go and make investment in overseas projects, especially in Africa. Africa is the upcoming market. It's a virgin land, lot of unexploited resources available, both mineral resources, natural resources, food resources, fishing resources there. And then we have got quite a friendly environment in some of the country by virtue of our historical and religious ties as well. Unfortunately, I would say that the government so far has not developed a conscious policy framework on the basis of these commonalities. Number one, and secondly, the responses of our international investors or our business community is also very sluggish. They have also not come forward to explore this opportunity. That is why I can see in South Africa there, Namibia is there, Kenya is there. Now, the whole pharmaceutical market in this area has been captured by Indian pharmacists, whereas our pharmaceutical sector is second to none as far as their production is concerned. Unfortunately, we could not raise the image of our national industry, in international market or in international commodity market. So that is where here what we have to do is that as far as the bureaucracy role is concerned, it should also be mobilized. The international investment scenario, it has to be mobilized within the country as well, and then we will have to come up with certain new strategic policy framework, such as creating project in other country through value addition policy. You know, half of the work is done in our country, half of the work is done in that country. So the people, investors, business partner there and there, they will develop a lot of stakes in each other investment. So once again, what you find is that the governance structure is not responding, you know, what you can say smartly to these opportunities.
All right. Touseef Sahab, the Prime Minister also spoke of this untapped potential in Pakistan in these special economic zones. If you could tell us a little bit about that, what is the role of these economic zones? How can one become a part of these economic zones? What can one achieve over there?
Basically, there were four pillars of CPAC. Number one was the energy. Number two was the infrastructure. Number three was the Gwadar port. And number four was economic zones. You know, basically that is where the magic of for common man is there. You know, for three they were just the infrastructure thing, where state Chinese companies, they invested in the energy sector and all that. But now, as soon as we have seen that all the infrastructure is coming up well, the energy is coming up well, now is the time to talk about the economic zones. We have one of the best incentives given to any country at any given time in any part of the world, what CPAC has to offer through these economic zones. There's a long-term tax rebate, there's duty-free imports. You can import whatever you have, the custom infrastructure built in your economic zone. The economic zone could be as small as 50 acres. So it's not you need to have a huge money required. And interestingly, so we can focus on either one product or one skill set or one region or one fruit, you know, and we can start working on that. The beauty of Pakistan is the size of the economy. You know, budget says that our economy size is over $300 billion. I would say to multiply it by 4, that is the genuine size of the economy to offer. You know, it's just that
most of it is undocumented.
Last week I was in Balochistan. You know, I've seen that the fruit yield is not as interesting as we expected, but the Hana Lake is full again. With all, you know, grievances, only the Islamabad fruit market entertains about 2 billion rupee of apple only from Balochistan. You know, with everything is, you know, it's not in ideal condition. It's pessimistic, you know, there's so much to be done. So what is required? To improve the water management.
Most important.
Right.
Number one.
Number two, and then come to the economic zones where you have the fruit processing units. I appreciate.
So value addition is what you're talking about.
That is where this government have announced 50% of the cost of these food processing units would be borne by the government. You know, 50% of the value. So for all these areas, usually where the fields are, they're not so rich of an area. So that's a good news. I can foresee in coming the year 2018-19, at least 10 to 20 good sizable units should be there for fruit processing in Gilgit-Baltistan, in Balochistan, in rural Punjab, and that is where, you know, I believe the value addition would start working. You know, I'm looking after. I can see that there would be Chinese investment coming in, there would be Korean investment coming in, there would be European investments already. The milk group is talking to Angro. So
the dairy sector.
Yeah, dairy sector, and only each one of these sectors are worthy enough to pay off all our national loans. That is the capacity of each one of these sectors.
Well, that's good news, but I hope that we move towards actually achieving that dream. Jaleel Sahab, when we also talk about a collaborative response when it comes to security in the Indian Ocean region, what kind of collaborative response mechanism are we really talking about when the Prime Minister mentions security in the Indian Ocean?
You know, all the stakeholders of this region, all the littoral country, for example, the Gulf region is there, right? Our neighboring country, Iran, is Gulf region includes all these Gulf states as well. They
Yeah, but
have
we
a vital stake.
India, which is
manpower.
antagonistic to this entire CPEC project.
But
How can we collaborate with them on this?
The question is that as far as the Pakistan naval potential is concerned, it is quite strong enough to neutralize the Indian threat in this respect, and it has been acknowledged as well in those in circle of our competitors as well.
Right.
So the question is that here we need to develop, and already, if you know, there are many Gulf states which are being, in fact, with whom we are sharing our security potential.
Touseef, you want to add something?
Yeah, basically, what we need to graduate from is our defense, our economy, and our national policy being India-centric. Pakistan, by 2022, Pakistan's middle class would be bigger than the whole of UK and Ireland. The middle class. The economy size has already going like in a very good numbers. We are in top 20, 25, 24 economies already. So we have so much potential. What we are missing, being India-centric, the whole common CIS countries, we are missing that. We are not going over there. Our not focus is there. Africa, we are missing that focus. In the island countries, one of the interesting potential of this maritime business is we can build our base in Mauritius. Our commercial base for fueling the passing through ships, that is required over there. It's very interesting strategically, and it's very interesting, viable, commercially, to build our base over there for fueling the ships passing through the Maldives.
Right.
That is a very interesting component. So we do not trade much with Australia. We think it's far. Look at China. They are including Australia and Latin America into this OBOR corridor. I met all these envoys at Silk Road Developers Association, and everybody is eager to join. The mantra we have is that something is happening in Pakistan. Now is the time for each one of us to take that mantra and go to country and bring them for whatever is required or whatever trade we can sell to them. That is where the magic is. Again, going back to the airline business, we have a huge human resource, and the problem on Pakistan side is PIA got extra human resource employed. Probably we could utilize this human resource to build airlines in African markets, which is viable, profitable, instant profits, from there. So if Prime Minister says 9%, I can definitely add 2% into it, and let's make it 11% by utilizing our human resource from PIA to Africa, and let's open another line.
That's a wonderful idea, sir, but I hope that you're sharing these ideas with the powers that be and the ones who are going to be pushing these policies forward and making the decisions. Of course, we can just simply give suggestions and talk about it, but obviously the decisions that have to be implemented is a different set of people in charge of implementation. When it comes to implementation, Jaleel Saab, how would you score Pakistan's record in implementing its policies, whether they're economic or any other?
That's the weaker area. This is what I would say. The implementation agencies are not responding according to the challenges of the time. Number one, our governance structure is very poor, and somehow I also feel those who are managing governance structure of society, they do not act with synonymity or with unanimity when it comes to any challenge. It means that they are not fully informed about it, their intuitive responses are not fully developed about them. And here it comes again, we come back to the very human resource management policy, that how we are going to prepare human resource management policy. That's very important. Each project requires a specific kind of responses, right? And those responses also include linguistic responses. Have we adopted that kind of a policy? In fact, where we are failing is, this is, I would say, by default, we have not developed any appropriate, comprehensive, well thought out policy framework to come up to these challenging tasks, where the opportunities are knocking at the door of the Pakistan economy, right? For example, as the Prime Minister has said that Pakistan is quite capable of achieving a very high target of economic development up to 9%. It is not an exaggeration. It is correct. Pakistan economy, we have got, the Pakistan agriculture sector is very rich. 22% of the national GDP is constituted by it. Our farm products, our agricultural product, orchard products, they are very high quality product. Once again, and sometimes we produce them, especially the fruit, we produce them in surplus, but unfortunately we could not make them available in international market, commodity market, because of the lack of the communication network. We have not provided our farmer, our rural area with appropriate preservation, fruit preservation schemes. You know, it's a perishable commodity. You have to provide them warehousing facility, you have to provide them communication network, right? And now you will see, if you go to the market, you will find the fruit from New Zealand, and as far as from Latino America, it is being sold within the Pakistani market. How it is coming?
Right.
Right.
Well, sir, there are a number of issues that you've raised, and I hope that the powers that be are looking into every single aspect of making CPEC a success, because it is imperative for our future generations that we work hard now so that our generations can reap the rewards for our hard work. So we also have to talk about another very crucial issue of the world, and that is the Iran nuclear deal. We've been joined by Zafar Nawaz Jaspal Sahab. Let's get his views on what is happening vis-a-vis the Iran deal. Jaspal Sahab, thank you very much for joining us, sir. What are you expecting on Tuesday, sir, when the US president is set to announce his decision regarding the Iran nuclear deal?
Look, the U.S. can, you can say, move out of this deal, and as a result, deal definitely will be ended immediately. But we have to also take into account the other parties, which was, it was 5+1 parties negotiations with the Iran, and the other parties like Russians, Chinese. They will be definitely in favor of this deal. So the situation is entirely different from 2015. So going out of the deal will be going to encourage the Iranians to move out of the NPT, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, because there is a clause, withdrawal clause, and they can give a 3-month notice and they can go out. So by, you can say, quashing this deal, there will be more chances of proliferation in the region, because then the Iranians will be viewed as skeptical, as already Israelis or Netanyahu has made a comment on their nuclear weapons program. And definitely if they scuttle this deal, then the people, others like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, they started feeling that Iran has already nuclear weapons in their basement or a nuclear capability in the basement, and definitely they started pursuing the nuclear weapons capability. So it will be what you call it, starting a chain reaction which leads to the nuclearization of the entire Middle East.
All right. Jaspal Sahab, also please tell us about the fix that Donald Trump wants to bring to the deal. He announced that there are a number of shortcomings in the deal as it exists today. What, in your opinion, are those shortcomings?
Look, this deal was very much clear that the Iranians will be going to open up everything, and they had already opened it. That IEA will be going to monitor, they will transfer whatever they have a capability to enrich the uranium. We have to not forget here that Iran has the right to enrich the uranium up to 5% or up to the 19.75% for 3 purposes: for agriculture, productivity enhancing, for medical treatment, and for power generation. Being a member of the NPT, Iran has the right for these kind of things. Iran can use or have a full fuel cycle for nuclear power plants. It can build the nuclear power plant, nuclear enrichment facility, nuclear reprocessing facility, but under the IEA safeguards. Iranians were maintaining that, but if you see that when the deal was signed, Iranians agreed to give up their nuclear enrichment capability and further minimize it, but the Americans, you know, that they are searching some kind of enemy in the region, and in that context, they need an issue with Iran which can camouflage the other issues. So maybe that will be. And secondly, my understanding is that the Trump, when he said that there are many, you can say, loopholes in this deal, those loopholes can be indirectly plugged, but by this way, he will be making Iran more vulnerable, and as a result, Iranian may go for extreme, you can say, actions as the North Korea did in 2003.
Well, both Iran and the European countries are trying to keep the deal intact. Whether the US stays in the deal or not, Iran has shown a willingness to continue with the deal as long as its oil's exports are not affected. So in your opinion, do you think that's going to be a viable situation going forward, or do you think that we have a lot of uncertainty in the future vis-a-vis the Iran nuclear deal?
My understanding is that number one is that Iranians will try to maintain their confidence within the IAEA. So they are going to cooperate with the IAEA for the sake of the safeguarding and then declaring that they have no intention to make nuclear weapons or cheat the nuclear non-proliferation treaty. This is number one. Number two, this time Americans will be not having a sanctions like punitive sanction under Chapter 7, which they came up from the United Nations Security Council. Because in the United Nations Security Council, this time definitely Russians and Chinese would be not on the side of the Americans when they are coming up with sanctions as the way they have, you can say, adopted the United Nations sanctions resolutions in 2010. So by this way, I think that the Americans, this attempt will be more rhetoric, and you cannot expect any kind of a tangible outcome of this. But my understanding is that it will be further, you can say, distressing Iran, and maybe then the hardliners within the Iran started thinking to move or withdrew from the NPT.
All right, thank you very much, Jaspal Saab, for taking out the time and sharing your views with PTV World. I'd also like to thank Touseef Saab and Jaleel Saab for taking out the time and sharing your views with PTV World. Thank you once again. Well, it's the end of the program, and as we end the program, it's been over 6 weeks since the Israeli war machine has killed some 50 Arab protesters, and there's been little sound from the international community other than the routine condemnation. And Tel Aviv has shown little respect for human rights while dealing with the Palestinians. And the international community, through the United Nations, must raise its voice against the brutal violence the Palestinians are being subjected to. Note, it's goodbye.